I got a little bit of a system for him right now. I have a slingshot with some ball bearings. I shoot him up into the trees. He doesn't know where the noise is coming from, and it spooks him out. And then then the horde of martins chase him. You've seen that. But.
So Brad, you can hear everybody now?
Yes, can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Yay. My computer crashed Sunday and I had to reload everything. So
oh my God.
Yeah. Imagine me doing that too.
That's scary. I'm gonna go check our page and see if anybody's having trouble getting in.
So I'm sure you guys up further north are not as, I couldn't hear like anything y'all said until about 30 seconds ago, but I heard Mike, you talking about your hawk problems, and that is just, I hate this time of the season. So,
yeah. The doggone owl's not doing me any favors either. I don't really know if he's getting anybody or not, because I don't see any evidence of missing birds or feathers or anything when he's around, but he's just annoying as well. And it's very troublesome.
Yep. Kathy's, I have been so lucky. I mean, this is my 18th year as a landlord, and I have never had any owl problems that I had noticed. And then I using Kathy Free's method of game camera management this year, so I can verify that I haven't had any issues. So I haven't. I've been extremely lucky. It's the bad part of hosting purple martins.
But the owl problem just started last year. I've had the colony up for about 7 years, and he just came last year. And sometimes he's there about 3 or 4 times a night.
Yeah.
That's about how long it took the owl to find mine here. I had my colony up for about 7 years, and he hit me about 2014, and he or she has not left since.
Yeah.
So they live for a long time, Mike. I don't know if you know that, but you're in for a long ride.
Yeah. We have a lot. I actually am down in the Chesapeake Bay right now. I have a house down here, and so far I've not had the problems up in Northern Virginia where I have 21 colonies, and I have a little bit of Cooper's hawks coming in right now, but I don't have any owl problems that I know of. But without cameras, sometimes it's hard to tell, I guess.
Yeah, that's the first thing I recommend to everybody is they put up a game camera and monitor their colony and see what's going on, because you don't really know until you know.
Yeah. The problem is most of mine are public colonies, and I've had trail cameras stolen before, so I'm kind of reluctant to put them out.
Yeah, that would be tough to do then.
Yeah.
And it's a public colony that's being attacked?
No, it's my private one. It's the one at my house. But I'm sure I'm probably getting some issues there that I don't know about. And I would love to put a camera at every single one of them, but it's just not practical.
Yep. So what do you plan on doing? I mean, have you put any guards up?
Any what?
Have you put any guards up at all?
No, I mean I have some super gourds that have the guards on the front. I have all Troyer tunnels. I have tunnels on everything, but it's just really impractical to put any sort of cage or anything over these colonies.
Yeah, and unfortunately, once an owl finds your colony, it's done. It will keep returning until they abandon.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
I had a friend that lost his colony to a barn owl. First time I've ever heard of that, but he saw the owl on several occasions, and he had little bitty tiny gourds. I guess that contributed to it, but I didn't know barn owls even ate birds, but apparently one did.
Yeah, they'll eat small birds.
Yeah, I mean, I had the owl last year, and none of the birds abandoned. And then this year, I raised my number of gourds to 124, and I'm actually almost at 100% occupancy, even with the owl attacks. So I'll just have to wait and see if there's any attrition from it.
Yeah. Are you finding lots of feather piles around?
I found 3 or 4 so far this season, and owl feathers, laying around the yard and stuff. I'm only down here every other week, so I really can't watch it that closely. But when I'm here, I get up about every 2 or 3 hours and go out there and see if he's there. And sometimes he is, sometimes he's not.
Yep. Yeah, around fledging time, they get really aggressive. Mm-hmm. Well, mine does. Every site's different, but
yeah.
I've seen mine here 3 or 4 times a night during fledging.
Yeah.
Of course, I try to scare them off the racks when they come back to roost at night, but they feel pretty safe inside the cages now. So she's not. I think overall this year I've lost 4, a total of 4 since March. Mm-hmm. But before I put up the cages, I was losing 20 or more.
Wow.
Yeah. And they had actually abandoned the trendsetter house that I had up because that was her favorite house to attack. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if you're familiar or anybody's familiar with the trendsetters, but you go in the door and you have to turn left or right to go in.
Right.
And she was grabbing onto the trendsetter and scaring them out and grabbing them off the porches. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they're the worst problem to have, in my opinion.
I totally agree.
Oh yeah, Courtney, you had to do this too, didn't you?
Yes, it was an absolute nightmare. But all y'all know that, most of you anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy. That's why it's so annoying for me when I hear people say they don't want to put up predator guards to keep a snake or a raccoon from climbing, and it's like, man, you think that's hard to do? Wait until you have an owl problem.
Yeah. I think if I ever have to go to the cages, that I'm going to just build mine at the top of my poles where I can raise my rack up into it and out and let it down out of it. That would work for me because my poles are steel, and the only 2 aluminum poles I have are 4-inch square tubing, and I hate to say they're tornado proof because they're probably not, but I have never seen them even sway. We had some 50-mile-an-hour winds the other night, and they never even wiggled. So
the only problem with building them at the top, we thought about doing that too, Brad. But when we have to lower our racks during these tornadoes, straight line winds, whatever, you bring them down at night and then they're totally exposed again.
Right. And for anybody using a commercial gourd rack, that would be a concern, but mine are much beefier than any commercial rack. So
sure.
That would help.
When we added the cages, the wire, the brackets, everything, the undersill trim, we estimated that we didn't add any more than 35 or 40 pounds to each rack. But it's surprising how much wind that open wire like that still catches. I mean, I was still surprised how much wind it catches. But anyway, it is what it is. You just have to work with it and deal with it and hope that they don't abandon or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. So who's tired of chasing fledglings around the yard? I had told Kathy and Tammy via messenger. I thought 4, but it ended up being 5 on the ground. don't even know what the day is. I guess it was Sunday afternoon. And I decided they're all the same size. I decided that a parent must have been a single parent and must have got caught by a hawk, because I've never had that many at one time. If I had one year, I had a really bad mite problem, and I didn't get on top of it. And I had a tremendous amount of jumpers that year. But to find 5 all of the same size, it's almost got to be out of the same nest. And I can't let my gourd racks down because I've got fledglings that are coming out every day. And I did that one time, and I won't do that again. So
I've got 160, give or take 5, that are 25 days old as of today. So yeah, they're coming out left and right. They're landing all over my house and the porch and everything. And they're a rack pretty bad.
you're gonna lose 10 pounds this week just running laps around your yard.
Excellent. I know, right? It's really frustrating. I've actually only had 4 jumpers so far, but which is pretty good. So
That's not bad.
no. Bill, you got a bunch of jumpers?
I got 3 of them so far, and 2 of them are sitting out on my porch with the board every hour and a half or so. I'll try to release the one today, and he put about 50 feet. So I went and got him, put him back in there. So,
What do you feed them?
crickets.
Yeah.
So first a couple of times, I mean, you had to pry their mouth open, but now as soon as they see the cricket, they take it down, which is good.
Excellent. I feed mine super worms. Watch Jean cringe.
I graduated. I feed mine super worms now.
Excellent. Mine are live.
Without cutting them into pieces.
No, I still cut them. They're big.
Yeah, they're big.
Oh my God. I touched one the other day, and it turned about 4 flips and I thought if Jean had done that, she would have died.
No, they go in the freezer. I don't mess with them live anymore. They go right in the freezer.
Mine are live.
Oh,
Live action.
No.
So
If freezer
reminds
meals are
me,
good enough for my family, freezer meals are good enough for my Martins.
Oh, that's a good motto. I like it. So
I gotta go get. I'll be right back.
Oh God, he's gonna go get a super worm.
Probably. Travis, how many pairs did you end up with this year?
So we only have 2 pairs. It's been so interesting. And I'll say 2 pairs. We're trying to learn all the lingo and, the nesting and the checks, but in reality, 2 pairs that have nests. Now we've had up to 20 visitors. We've had multiple visitors. We have our first hatchling. They're on day 27. They have been poking their heads out, and we just had a storm roll through them. We're like, do we do the VST? What do we do? Because everything seems to happen with us at the VST. But, you guys are great. So we wanted to join in. And, of course, we're getting dinner. Adriana's still finishing up.
Excellent.
And Kathy, the owl problem. I know we don't post a whole lot. Our work's been overwhelmed. It's been kind of danged if you do and danged if you don't, because if anybody here doesn't know, we had an owl problem about 2 weeks ago, and I didn't post the picture, but it was a great horn on our property. And we reached out to a couple of people who helped us greatly. And long story short, we've been playing music. Our barn is about 35 yards from the rack that has the nestlings, fledglings in there. Well, soon to be fledglings. So we've been, I'll go out every night, turn on rock and roll.
Excellent.
And 7 a.m. I'll go out there and turn it off and open up the barn doors for the Barneys. Sorry, Brad, we don't have Barneys in there. They've been flying in. They haven't. We're just keeping options open for everything. But I'm working on a system for a cage next year. That's going to be my winter project. Kathy, you're our inspiration on what you've done, and with some resources, hope to build on that, keep it lightweight.
Yeah.
So I don't know what we're doing yet, but it will be a cage system. We just gotta fledge to keep this new property alive. We just got to get them to fledge so they come back.
Yep, exactly. You're doing the right thing, Travis. You guys just get those 2 pair through and then you can start working on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pain. I feel for you, dude, but it's nature.
It is. And although we haven't posted much lately, we've been here in the background listening to you guys, all of you, and appreciate everything you've given us.
Good.
Well, thank you, Travis. We love having you guys on the site. Hey, Gene, I got a present for you.
I don't need any presents. It's not my birthday.
If you think the superworms look freaky, look at their
That's
pupa.
gross.
Prehistoric.
It's like
What is that?
It's like an alien. That is a superworm pupa. I decided,
Why?
apparently, because I can. I don't
Oh my
know.
God.
I take everything as a challenge, even though nobody challenges me to do it. And apparently, superworms are supposed to be really hard to raise. So I thought, I'm just gonna give it a try. So I noticed. I decided to try to pupate some. You have to put them in the little containers. They won't pupate as long as they're in a common area. That's crazy. But I had about 80% of my superworms that I confined in my sauce cups turned into pupa. So yay for me.
Yuck.
We'll be buying them off of you next year, Brad.
We all
Oh, I
might
don't
have
know.
to with the winter we
You may
had
have
last
to.
year. Yeah.
And the thing about it, guys, for those of you who want to keep some in the freezer, for those of you who want to keep some in the freezer, you better get to getting them, because everybody's out of stock, still out of stock of large superworms.
I ordered
Which-
5,000 crickets when they finally became available and got them in my freezer right away. I'm not waiting till next spring. This past year was horrible.
Yes, it
Yes, it
absolutely
was.
was. I bet
Still
Miss
not great for
Jean.
me. I have that baby out there. That's why I was late. The mama came back. She just sat on top of the gourd rack, didn't do anything, and then left again. I
Hey,
don't
is
know
she
what.
a sub-adult, Jean?
What's that?
Is she a sub-adult?
Yes,
Yeah,
both parents are.
both.
The dad barely comes around at all.
They could be just the migration drive is probably pulling at them really
What
strong.
I'm afraid of.
The fact that she won't abandon it though. They don't
She's not
abandon it.
feeding it. She hasn't fed it since like 11. I forgot what time it was. Before noon, for sure. Before noon. And I didn't do anything for like 2.5 hours. I was like, I gotta feed it something. And then I went out and I made sure none of them were around. There was nothing. They were nowhere nearby.
So the change you made recently was to move that decoy over there, right?
Yeah, but I did that yesterday. She fed him a ton all day yesterday.
So
and
she's
everything.
been back in there since that moved?
Oh yeah, she's been in there several times. And she was feeding him fine this morning. So whatever, I don't know what happened at 11:45 was the last time. The first time I noticed her come back and not feed him was around, I don't know, a little after noon, I think. She brought a moth and she just sat on the porch for a couple minutes. You know how like they kind of look in with the food and come back out? And then she left and when she came back, she didn't have the moth anymore. And then she came back 2 other times. That's it. She's only been back 3 times with food all day.
Wow.
And all 3 times she left with it and didn't bring it in.
So one thing you might do tomorrow is wait and see what happens in the morning. But then you might want to go out at noon. Do you have a kitchen scale?
Yes.
Okay. So set it on grams. You know how to zero it out with the blue.
Yeah, I've weighed them before. I know how to weigh them. And I have the
that's
chart.
right. Yep. So weigh him And just, you know, like every day you're going out there anyway, right?
Yep.
So just weigh him and see if he's losing weight. That'll tell you,
Yeah.
you know.
It's just so
Unfortunately,
sad. He's all by himself. He was all by himself all last night and all day today. He's been by himself since like noon.
So I have one other thing for you to consider, and it's not easy, but there may be something wrong with him
I know.
that she knows.
I know. I did look at it. I don't see it. I mean, I'm not his
Yeah.
mom, but I don't, he looks very healthy to me.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. But I did call the rehabber. Of course, the rehabber that came and released the 5 that's right here in my next town.
Yeah.
She's going on vacation. Well deserved. The lady works hard. But so I have to take him down to if I have to take him, I have to take him to Georgetown to the rehabber that I used to use all the time.
Yeah,
But I don't see how that's gonna help him. It's
it's
so late in the game.
how old is he now?
I think he's about 17 days old. I'm not exactly sure because that was the weekend that my son was leaving for basic training. So I missed the hatch date. And I didn't know exactly when they laid them because that's when all my fledgers were fledging.
Well, I would weigh him for a couple of days and see which way it's trending, and then see if you can figure out something else to do. I don't know what it would be, but
The great thing for you is you do have a rehabber you can take it to. The closest one to me is 2.5 hours away. When I had 5 that jumped. One of them was able to fly, so I couldn't catch it. I had 4 in the bucket, and I was supposed to leave town tomorrow afternoon for the rest of the week. So I thought, you know, I got to take these to a rehabber. And I was going to drive by the one that was 2.5 hours away. She won't even call me back. So I have nothing. I have no resources, none at all.
yeah, all mine are 2.5 hours away too. So
Yeah.
I have to figure out. I've actually been trained by a rehabber, but I don't have a legal license for it.
Right.
But anyway, so let's hear from Micah. Micah, how has your year been? How many
It's
have you
been
got?
wonderful.
Yeah.
I've had 16 pair down there last night, and they look like there's about 30 birds down there. So everything's went real good. So
16 pair your first year?
yep, I'm full.
Good.
Well,
That's what happened.
maybe
That's a
because
benefit.
of, preventing some predators in there, buddy. Good job.
Yeah, really.
Well, thank you. I 3 snakes this year, so I've got to work on a wink system that's coming up this winter, so I can do nest checks and everything. So, but yeah, everything went wonderful. So I've enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
Good.
It doesn't hurt that you live up, you know, down the road from a guy that's got an obscene amount of martins. That probably helps you some. So
That helped me out a
Travis.
lot. I think. So,
Well,
a lot of good
you've done a
advice
great
and
job.
everything, so.
You've done a great job this year, Micah. Congratulations, man.
yes,
Thank
and I am. You have no idea. You really don't. How many people that I have told to put up predator guards and local.
They don't have a snake
Local.
problem.
No, snakes can't climb metal poles.
No.
I mean that's 100% fact. And I have told Micah, I'm not exaggerating if I say I've told 50 local people, local being North Alabama, you are the only one that's put up predator guards. And just think of where you would be if you hadn't. You wouldn't have a
I'd be
colony.
wondering where my birds are.
Yep.
You belong to the Where Did My Purple Martins Go club.
Well, and the consistent message there is predator guards. Even in Ohio, you know, I've talked to Eric. I wish Eric was on here. Eric Evans, for those of you who didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to Eric semi-regular and everything. His colony has flourished from last year. We've all talked about it, and we don't have the snakes y'all do. We
No.
just don't. But the neighbor guy who pulled about 20 gourds for us to help his overflow and send them over to us. The local guy, he actually came over 2 nights ago, and he admitted while he was gone helping his kids down in Louisville. Yeah, that's how you say it, Louisville. That he lost 10 pair to raccoon.
Oh no.
To a raccoon?
For the first time. He's been successful at 3 places over 20 years in raccoons. So thanks to you guys. And I told him, I said, well, if you need electric, we'll do what it takes. So he's well past retirement, and offered him some help. But while we don't have snakes, and Bill, you may be able to relate being in the north, raccoons, yeah, he lost quite a few. So, we all just
That's
do
a
what we
shame.
can relative to geography.
So you guys have a mutually beneficial relationship now, Travis. You can help him with his raccoon problem, and he helped you by forcing his martins over there.
Well, and we both have great horned owls in common as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of people that, you're right about the snake problem. I don't have as bad a snake problems as I have in the South either. Apparently they get taller than 6 feet down south.
The rat snakes down here are ginormous.
Right.
Yeah.
But raccoons are just as bad. And we saw a post here a few weeks ago, Brad and I did, on another site, where a guy had been predator guard free for 20 years, never had a problem. And then a raccoon came through and wiped out over 140 of his nestlings.
Oh my God, I would die.
That's a lot.
You would have to institutionalize me. I couldn't take it.
That is a severe loss. And, he thinks he'll have about 60 nestlings still left. And I told Brad, unless the parents have abandoned, because the parents probably got eaten or they abandoned as well. So raccoons are just as bad. Yeah, this was just
like they needed it this year after the polar vortex.
Right. This was about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Oh.
So anyway, to Travis's point, the raccoons are just as bad as the snakes, if not worse, because a raccoon doesn't just get into a gourd and eat a few and just lay there. It pulls martins out of several gourds at a time, and just, it'll eat their heads off or pull their wings off and toss them aside and just keep going. So I'll tell you guys a quick story. A couple of years ago, when I first started mentoring here, a mentoring program here in Missouri, an elderly couple contacted me from Lake of the Ozarks. It's about 2.5, 3 hours from here. And they said, hey, we hear you're the purple martin person for Missouri, blah, blah, blah. And they said, we went on a 4-day weekend away from our home, and we came back, and all of our purple martins are gone. And this was like the end of May, beginning of June. And they said, where could they have gone? And I said, well, they're not going home yet. They're just now fledging their young. So tell me what you see down there. Well, we went down there, and there were some wing parts on the ground. I said, did you find any blood or whatever? Anyway, long story short, after the investigation, they had 3 gourd racks, 24 gourds each rack. And it turns out, after they started looking, there was a family of 5 raccoons that came through that 4-day weekend and wiped out their whole colony. And what they didn't kill, all the martins abandoned. So that was 2 or 3 years ago, and they still contact me and say, we still don't have martins back. So raccoons can be just as bad, is my point.
Absolutely. And, we have a member on our site that I met at the Johnson's Jamboree. I cannot remember his name, but he is in Illinois. It may be very southern Illinois. I don't know, but he told me as they were leaving to come down here to the Johnson Jamboree that they saw a snake stick with its head stuck out of one of their gourds. And they stopped and lowered the gourd rack and pulled the snake out. And Kathy, you'll remember because it's the guy that put those electric guards up like overnight.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Yeah,
but
I remember. Yep.
I don't know how far up you got to worry about snakes, but geez, I can't fathom why anybody would not put predator guards on their poles. But we all know we talk about it every year, and then people ask why their martins didn't come back, and you tell them, and then they argue with you. No, that's not it. So.
Well, Brad, and that was the tricky thing about this local gentleman. He had predator guards and they were defeated. He had baffles.
What kind of baffles were they?
Would love to answer that truly, Courtney. I don't know. And that's where when he came over, I just offered help.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to put some on our Gemini. With the only reason we haven't is we don't have any birds in it yet. But if we can share any knowledge, certainly will with this gentleman. And just think that, and for anybody else on here who may have folks like that, he's done fantastic over the decades, but we all got to learn and keep up because everything adapts. So just going to help him how we can.
Well, and that's a good point, Travis. Everything does adapt. That is a great statement because, and I think everything learns too. I got to tell you, I bought, and I was going to post it. I have posted about my new camera, but it's getting some great video of the raccoons that go through my yard, and the raccoons hardly even stop and try to climb my poles anymore. One I watched the other night, it went across to the pole, it put its paw on the winch and looked up, and then it just walked down and kept going. So it's almost like all my raccoons are trained now. They know they're not going to make it up that pole, so why bother? Why waste the energy?
Right.
But anyway, yeah, a good mounted predator guard. Find out what kind of pole it's got, Travis. And I have a lot of the DIY, do-it-yourself link on how to make predator guards if you want those.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to do some 8-inch baffles on ours, probably some stovepipe. Most of his are actually homemade. Like I said, I've been to his house once and he's got a variety, so may have to just use a little skill and just whatever we got to do to adapt.
Excellent. Excellent. And Eric Evans, he's the one with the griddle, that guy.
Yeah, that guy that posts the food pictures that make me hungry all the time.
Yeah.
I'm holding off on you, Brad, because I didn't want to get minus 10 points or get kicked out of the group.
Hey, it won't bother me. It won't bother me tonight. I had ribs, so ribs are good. As long as you don't have sauce on them, they're keto friendly. So
that's right. Hey, Lindsay, how has your year been?
Hey.
Hey.
Yep, I'm here.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm just kind of lurking. My year's been really good. It's had some ups and had some downs, mostly ups though. So I don't know if any of you guys remember my pole got bent a few weeks ago in a bad storm we had. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah. But you didn't lose any nestlings or birds, right?
I may have lost one nestling as far as I can tell. I had a pair. So I have 24 pair out of my 24 gourds.
Wow, your first year.
On my first year.
Wow.
Well, that's just a little under average, but it's pretty good.
Right.
So I think something happened to the male pretty early on. So I noticed that the female goes in and out. Some. She's a sub-adult. She does an okay-ish job. But I do think a nestling got lost in that storm because the gourds were kind of sideways for a long time. And then right after that storm, I lowered it and one of them was gone.
Okay.
But she has fed the other one, even though I think, everybody does a better job than she does. But it did fledge about 2 days ago, and it was kind of funny to watch. It was my first fledge.
Awesome.
So he would try to get to the top of the rack, even though the rack's not all the way up. And so it would just fly into the pole and try again and fly into the side of the pole. It was kind of hysterical.
That's awesome. So you've got a bunch more getting ready to fledge soon, right?
I do. I had another nest fledge today. That was my icky mite nest that I had trouble with last week.
Yeah.
They fledged today. There was 2 of them, and I saw them and the parents flying around a lot in a group and doing the harassing thing. I did have another gourd that was scheduled to fledge today, but that was an adult pair that had 6 babies. So it might have been harder for them to get to weight with that many. But yeah, we're just now starting here. And the only other goofy thing I've had happen is I've got a sub-adult pair. They had 5 eggs, then it went to 1 egg, then it went to 0 eggs. And then it was still at 0 eggs at my last nest check, but they're just both diligently there. I mean, they just act like they're there all the time, feeding something or doing something. So I don't know if they're trying to re-nest or what's going on.
Sounds like marital problems to me.
Perhaps.
Maybe they just decided not to have kids this year.
I guess. I mean, they're here all the time doing stuff. So I don't know. They may still re-nest, but man, they're going to be late.
Let's see. Today's the 13th. I kind of doubt it, but never say never, because you never know what these silly birds will do.
Yeah.
I still had eggs. My last nest check, I think, was 5 days ago. And I still had eggs in some of my gourds, but like you said, they don't even have eggs right now. So
yeah. And I mean, they could have. I checked them 2 days in a row. When I was doing mite treatments, I brought it down and I checked them to see if they were starting to lay again or what was going on, but nothing. They just hang out, I guess. So, but they seemed like it was just a nest failure because they had 5 eggs.
Right.
So, and then the only other thing that I worry about, I guess, right now is I had an adult male, and he seems to have lost the use of one of his legs. And I don't know about him. He's doing well. Watching him land is kind of excruciating. He usually ends up upside down, clinging to the porch. Yeah. But he's coming and going about as frequently as his mate is. So, I mean, he's getting the job done. He just, I don't know what he did to that leg.
Well, you're going to see a lot of things, you know, and this is your first year to see this kind of thing, but I've seen all kinds of things. I've seen, you know, males with almost all their tail feathers gone surviving. I've seen them with 1 leg too, surviving. So it's just not a lot you can do about it, but they are I would call them resilient.
Yeah.
Very.
And he has his leg. He just, I'm hoping he gets better before they go south. He doesn't seem to be able to use it at all. And it's kind of, you know, like he shimmies into the gourd. He's like, it's kind of, I'm like, God, is he going to get stuck? Like, but he makes it in and out every time. So I watch him pretty close.
Awesome. Well, good. Nice job this year and congratulations, girl.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all you guys' great advice last year to get me to this point.
You're welcome. And nice job on following through. 24 first year.
Well, it's kind of your second year, isn't it? Because didn't you have like 2 pair in a Heath house last year?
I had 2 sad pair in a sad Heath house.
That's why you've got 24 pair, because those 2 pair came back and went, wait a minute, we've got some major upgrades. We got to go tell everybody. So yeah, you went from a Heath house to a Troyer rack. That's like going from a cardboard box to the Ritz Carlton. So
yeah. And I was just going to do 12 gourds this year. And man, I'm glad I just kind of pieced together the other 12 because I'm just totally shocked I was full. Totally shocked.
Wow.
Well, awesome. you still only got 12 because the rest of them are 0.5s. So that's hilarious, by the way. I love
that. Is true.
1, 1.5, 2, 2.5.
You're right.
And the bad thing is I've learned them that way. Like 1.5 is my subadult nest that lost all their eggs. And, 7.5 was my first fledgers. And
I'd leave them that way from now on. I think that's awesome.
I really may, because it's been kind of a hoot.
Excellent.
So
So
Kathy,
So
she just came back and she sat on the porch forever with a bug in her mouth and left.
I've never seen that.
I haven't I don't know what, something inside it is like it's scaring her. She puts her face like she's gonna go in and then she backs off and flies off. There's nothing in there.
I wonder if you need to take that.
I
Towel
did. I
and
took it out the
thing.
last time
Oh,
I
you
fed
took it
him,
out.
but she was in there before when that was in there too. But I took it out
Yeah, I
because I
know.
thought the same thing. I thought maybe.
That's crazy.
I don't understand it at all. And she's very timid.
I don't know either.
Well, I just hope she gets brave and goes in and sleeps with him tonight. And then
Better
maybe
get her
they'll,
stuff together. She's not going to be passing on her genes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bill,
I know that's frustrating.
Bill, how many pairs did you end up with this year
I have 32 at my site.
at your home site?
Yeah. And the other sites I have, I think 235 nests, including this. It's up about 1,000 young ones. It's down maybe 950 right now.
Oh my God.
I found
That's
one
amazing.
with one eye. It looked like it was born that way, from what I could tell.
Wow.
Mr. Sharpshooter.
No, I didn't hit him.
You did a lot of protection though.
Yeah, that's at one of my public sites, but we had a lot of rain, as you probably know too, Travis. A lot of my gourds were just soaking wet, and it's a shame. I was talking to Adam Troyer today, and we were talking back and forth about the vent holes in the Troyer gourds. And to me, I think that lets a lot of moisture out. But he was thinking that that might help keep rain out too. If you drill them right, I can't see that. And if you get the ones that were really bad were facing the southwest, like where the storm came from. So
Yeah.
I don't think you can help that at all. And I had other ones that were dry. But when you look at a T14 and how dry those compartments are compared to gourds, it's like night and day. They
Right.
absorb that moisture.
I agree with you, Bill. If the vent holes are drilled properly, I don't see how water could possibly go up in them. I mean, mine are drilled up at like a 45-degree or even steeper angle than that.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about the wetness in gourds this week, because you guys have had, Gene's had in Central Texas. We've had a abnormally wet summer. I mean, it's rained here every day. It's rained at least 10 out of the last 14 days. And I can't lower my nests because I don't want to risk having jumpers, but I know my nests are wet. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I think I'm going to go back during this winter and do all of my gourds like I used to do my natural gourds. Debbie Kirkland had posted something about it, and she and I had talked, and that she has her gourds fixed like we used to all fix our natural gourds. We put a pipe through the neck, so that completely, like I used to use 3/8 copper tubing and caulk it in place. That completely seals that. I've never used she uses a screen wire, what's it called, spline. Courtney, don't you do that too?
Like a hard work? Yes, I do both of those. Sorry, my camera is not working tonight. It just completely died. But yeah, I do the screen spline, and I also do PVC pipe through the neck, like you do the copper tubing. It really does help.
Right.
So
do you have wet nests?
But wait, the screen spine you're talking about, you circled the drain holes at the bottom, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yep. So do you have problems with wet nests, Courtney?
I do not. I did before. I do not now. Since I put
Well, then
that screen spline on.
that's on my to-do list then. Because wet nests are horrible.
What did you attach it with on the bottom, Courtney?
I just use Lexel.
Lexel? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You
Hey,
put
Brad,
that
have
on
you
the hole?
tried any of the chirpy nest boxes at all?
No, I have not.
I had about 50 of them, and well, like for example, we had about 13 inches of rain down here in the last 2 weeks, and that's not counting tropical storm also. I don't even know what that was, but all those are pretty much dry, whereas the Troyers and some of the S&K stuff is much wetter. It's just the design of it. It just runs right out the bottom. It has because of the steep angle of the way it's made, it doesn't,
Right.
no water accumulates in it.
Right. Well, at my point in my career, yeah, they're very expensive.
Yeah.
I talked to Tom about selling them unassembled to reduce shipping costs and also input costs, but
yeah,
he didn't seem too keen on doing that. I was going to try a few. I'm way too in it now to change what I got, but
Yeah.
I'm going to, on my Troyer gourds, I'm going to caulk around where the tunnel attaches to the little neck that sticks out, because that's a source that water could wick in.
Mhm.
I'm either going to put the screen spline around the bottom, or I may buy a couple of thousand O-rings and just put an O-ring around each drain hole that would accomplish the same thing. And then I'm gonna put the tube through the necks, because I didn't have wet nests when I used natural gourds, and I did all of that. I didn't use the screen splines, so yes, the bottom part of the nest would get wet, but it never got up deep enough that the nestlings would have caked manure on their feathers or anything like that. So I'm just not going to go into another season handcuffed like I have been now.
So yeah, jumpers are a real pain. This is the worst part of the year for me. I hate it the worst, just because of having to watch for jumpers. But thankfully, I've only had 4 so far. But we'll see. 2. I think I have almost 300 to go. 160 this week, and then 150 or so next week. So.
I hope your luck continues, because I had 6 until Sunday and almost doubled that in about 30 seconds. So it was not fun.
So Courtney, have you had any more owl problems that you're aware, or has that kind of settled down?
That has settled down. The only thing I'm dealing with now is what I like to call runt season, and it's these late nesting subbies who aren't great parents and don't feed their young equally, or only one parent shows up. And I'm having to watch a couple of late nests now, and I had to foster one out to another nest just a couple of days ago. So this is the time of year when we get that up here.
Sounds like Jean's problem.
What I'm having right now. I'm watching her. She's as nervous as can be. She keeps landing on the porch. I'm hoping that sundown, she'll just go in. I don't know what she's so nervous about.
Strange.
I don't know if something happened earlier with a hawk or something that I missed. I don't know, but she is very timid.
Well, I will say that I'm really glad that I keep records and do nest checks every week, and I've done that all along, because I was able to find a suitable nest to foster this nestling over to pretty quickly by just looking at my data. I didn't have to roll all the racks down and look all around. I knew right away this nest is the same age. I just pulled them down, looked in. Yep, those nestlings are healthy. None of them were dehydrated, so I knew the parents were feeding them well. Just moved them right over. So that's another good reason to do nest checks.
Yeah. Courtney, that
256.
I am so glad you made that point again, because I got to tell you, I record all my nest checks on a little hand voice recorder that I pinned to my shirt, and I hadn't transcribed it for the last nest check that I did. I hadn't transcribed it into my book yet. And I had a jumper the first day, and I looked at my book and I thought, oh, I got to get back on that. I got to get that into my book. So I knew I knew right where they came from.
Yeah, it really does help.
It really does help. And I don't know if anybody has looked at John Barrow's his nest plugger tool. But he also last year, and I'm going to get him to do that this year. Last year, he also converted that into a nestling return tool. I don't know if that's what he called it. But what he did was, instead of having the plug on the end, he had a cup, and you could put that nestling in the cup and then take it up there. And I don't know how he tips the cup or whatever, but you could tip the cup and dump the nestling right on the porch so it could go in. So maybe I'll get him to try to do a video on that again so he can show us how to do that. Because that way you don't have to wind down the racks either.
Right. I'd love to see the whole thing in action. I've heard him describe it, and I've heard Louise describe how they've used that same tool to dump crickets on porches.
Yeah, I'd love to see how they get the cup to tip or whatever.
Right.
Do it. So, okay. I'll put that down as a note to talk to John about that. So, who else do we have here? Sue Kate, hey. We don't see you, but we know you're there.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
How has your year been?
My year has not been good.
Oh, no.
No problem. Year is always coming. Well, I had to be away for a family emergency, so. And then the sparrows took over.
Oh, no. So what do you do for sparrow problems? Do you trap and shoot, or?
I trap and eliminate.
Yeah. And has that not been helping, or do you need some advice on how to do that?
Yeah, but by the time I had them all trapped and out of the gourds, the purple martins had gone elsewhere. So.
Oh, that's a bummer. So,
Yeah.
where are you located at, Sue?
South Central Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay. So, I will tell you what I do, and it's a bit unconventional. And some people disagree with me and do it their own way. They keep their housing plugged until the martins arrive. I don't do that, because as soon as you open your housing, the sparrows are going to flood right in anyway. So the best time to trap and shoot is in advance of the martins arriving. So what I do is I actually get bird feeders and I fill them up with cheap bird seed, and I attract the house sparrows in February and March, and I trap and shoot. So it sounds like that's what you're going to have to try to do again next year. It's too bad your martins left.
Yeah, well, we'll try again.
Good deal. Yeah. Well, if you need any help, Tammy is the expert at trapping house sparrows. So she can absolutely help you.
Yes, she can. She's very good at that. We have a new Mr. Ballard has joined us just now somewhere. There he is. The utter chaos at your place, Greg?
Yes, it is.
I can only imagine. Is your colony show up on radar yet in the mornings?
I haven't checked, but I bet it does.
I looked this morning, and the Johnson's colony shows up on radar. I saw them lift off about 6 o'clock. Oh, I bet it would.
I've got, I don't know, maybe 1,000, 1,500 birds flying right now.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's like having your own personal roost.
Right? Greg, you should try
I'm
to
out
get a
watching
picture
them now.
You should try to get a picture of the roost radar tomorrow morning and post it and show us.
That would be cool.
I know, it would be cool.
Cool. I don't know why I turned on the auto transcription, but it's not working for me. I don't know if anybody else can see it, but
I see it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I can see it if I had my reading glasses on, but I don't.
I can
So
read
I
it.
can't read it, but I can see something down there.
Okay.
So
It's
I'm
not
old.
working on my end.
I'm old.
Oh,
And even older
wait a
today.
minute. I was fixing to say today's your birthday, isn't it? Or was that yesterday?
That's today.
Happy
Okay.
birthday,
So-
Greg.
Happy birthday.
We just
Happy
Not finished.
birthday.
thank y'all.
Was this
We're not
93
finished
this
eating
year?
What?
So
93?
Did you say 103? I wish y'all could see that. I don't know if I could flip this camera around. I'll turn the thing around. You can see some of them flying.
We
So
thought
Greg,
maybe
we were all talking about the number of jumpers we've had. How many have you had?
No, I always have some that they're not really jumpers so much as they just fall off. They sit outside and eat and they fall off. They can't
Right.
quite fly. I usually end up putting back probably on a bad day, maybe 6 or 8 a day, every day.
Wow.
So they're typically healthy as can be. They just can't quite fly yet. And some of them can probably fly and they're just tired and I got to jump the gun a little bit and go get them.
Or a subadult knocks them off and premature.
Yeah, that happens a lot where they
Here too.
pulls them off. Especially if you see one that's really too small to even try to fly, then that's the second year bird pulling them out of the gourd or off the porch.
So it becomes pretty much a full-time job for you
Yes.
until they get, yeah.
I am ready for them to go when they're ready to go. So
I feel the same way. I really do. And I know some of you people, especially you newer folks, cannot comprehend how us people, folks that love Purple Martin so much are so relieved when they finally leave. But I'm to that point in the season. I'd suit me to come home tomorrow and not have one here. I mean, no, it wouldn't, because that would mean I had predator problems, because I've got Martins for at least 3.5 more weeks. But
I'm going to have birds here till at least the third week and on.
Oh, you're breaking up. You're going to have birds there till when, Greg?
At least the third week in August before they'll all be gone. When I done a nest check on the 2nd of July, I still had females sitting on eggs.
Oh,
and some
wow.
were still laying. So, but I've got a bunch that have fledged over the last week. I wouldn't be surprised now. I didn't even actually count how many and stuff. I just counted nest. But I probably got half of the colony flying now. So it's pretty chaotic.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Half of it. Usually by July 4th, half of them's already gone, but not this year.
I guess your birds were later this year too because of that polar vortex.
Yeah, they got here on schedule, so they didn't arrive late. They arrived typical on schedule, but they did not start laying till late because we had a cold, wet snap afterwards too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Now, Kathy, didn't yours start laying late too?
Very late. Yeah. Usually most of mine have fledged by the middle to the 3rd week of June. But like I said, 5 or 6 days ago when I did my last nest check, I still have eggs that have just gotten started incubating.
That's incubating?
Yep. So
Now,
I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but I guess mine will be starting to leave about the time yours do too, Greg.
Mine have been completely normal on schedule. About half of mine left by the 1st of July.
So I'll tell you an observation that I told my husband out of frustration when I caught my 4th or 5th jumper. I said, I have 14 pairs of tree swallows here every year, and I have never once had a jumper or a tree swallow nestling land on the ground, ever. Have you? Anyone? No. So what is it?
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I don't know if y'all saw it, but a lady from Canada, I can't remember her name, posted a question about tree swallows today. And she had, they looked like bird lice to me. She had a nest cam in there. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I don't treat my tree swallow gourds or my tree swallow boxes for mites. I never have. And I thought, Kathy, I swear to you, I thought, why do the tree swallows never jump?
Yep.
They never do.
They never jump. They never land on the ground.
Oh.
Barn swallows neither, unless they're knocked out of the nest. But barn swallows just aren't
Right.
a big deal either. But anyway, just an observation.
It is. I don't that I can't comment on because I don't have a clue.
They nest a little earlier, and they don't sit in the nest as long. So
That's a good point.
Could cause them to not have the same problems.
That is a really good point too.
Could be. They, you know, I was asking Kathy and Tammy yesterday if the tree swallows up north nested twice a year, and they were both like, absolutely not. So I don't manage my tree swallows like I do my martins, but every nest of mine, and I have no way of knowing if it's the same pair or if it's second, but I have a second brood in every tree swallow nest I have this year. I don't remember that ever happening before. I've had second nests, but not in every one. And but it's without exception. Every one of them have a second nest.
Could they be re-nest attempts?
Well, they were successful their first time. It's kind of funny to watch.
It looks like your Wi-Fi name or password has changed. To update your Wi-Fi information,
Alexa's talking to me in the
Alexa
background. Freaks me out. They were all successful their first time, Bill, and it's funny to watch the fledglings from the flock from the clutch before help feed the ones that are in there now.
Oh, yeah.
And they're pretty easy to tell apart because their backs are brown. It's just odd. It's just an odd year. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been an odd year all the way around for everybody.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Anybody have anything else they want to talk about or add or?
Go ahead, Travis.
Okay. I do have a question. I saw a post recently on our site where somebody asked, do different vent systems allow more or less heat in them, be it vented on the caps, different gourd types? We all lived through that. I know y'all talked about wet nests this year, but last year we all know significant heat across different regions of the country. Are there different systems that allow better airflow in there, basically?
Yeah.
And has anybody done a study on it?
Yes. So it does not reduce the heat inside. You can vent it all you want to. It doesn't reduce the heat. It does reduce the humidity inside, but the heat is negligible changes. So if you're thinking it's going to reduce the heat inside the gourd, it just doesn't.
Okay.
Greg, what I would like to know, and I don't know how to measure this, I would like to know how it, well, yeah, I understand how you got your information, but what I'd like to know that I can't figure out how to monitor is the air exchange rate.
Yes, that's one that you're not going to be able to really monitor. I can tell you, I don't have anything on mine other than your normal vent hose in the top, and I've never had an issue that I could attribute to heat ever.
Right. It gets pretty hot, Oklahoma too, I would think.
Yeah, I get to 115 heat index quite often.
So
Okay.
I agree with you, Greg. I think if somebody really has a severe problem like they do sometimes in Louisiana and Texas, the best thing they can do is add shades by using those real estate signs and putting those above the gourds or stuff. But Honestly, I've never done it to any of mine, and we had 108 heat index here about a week ago, but didn't really see any problems from it.
No.
I have them in well over half of my gourds. I have a PVC elbow in the top of the neck, and I've never done any recording on it, but I put them in when I was still green enough that I just did everything the older folks told me to do. So now I'm one of those older folks. So, I've never the 60 gourds that I added last year, I did not add elbows, but I have to admit that I have seriously considered constructing a active ventilation system. It would not be expensive and it would not be hard. If you had the elbows on your gourds, you could put a vacuum hose on there and then run a small motor with a fan on it to actually pull air through the gourds.
Oh Lord, just give them an air conditioning system.
Well, the only reason I haven't done it, do I need to show you my superworm larva?
No.
Sorry. You know, sometimes Brad does things just to see if Brad can do them.
I know.
But I've never had a problem with heat causing jumpers, so I've never pursued it.
Yeah, me neither. Travis, are you
Yeah,
in
I
Northern?
gotta go.
Thanks, Greg, for joining.
See you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Travis, are you in Northern or Southern Ohio?
Technically Southern, Southwestern.
Okay. So, well, I guess it wouldn't matter because you're pretty much have about the same weather type patterns that we have in the spring.
Yeah.
And because of the cold that we have here and the snow and the stuff in the spring and how brutal it gets, that is another big reason I have never really vented any of my gourds. Some people have, and they go ahead and plug the vents during that kind of weather. But I've never really had a problem with heat here.
Do you even have yours drilled?
Oh yeah, I drilled the hole in the back of the horizontals, and the verticals, I've drilled the necks at the top. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't have the PVC elbow in them, either at the cap or at the top, like Brad mentioned?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, and part two, honestly, the reason I asked is that while our Martin experience is very limited, I've got a good engineering background and I did a lot of studies. I was certified for Underwriter Laboratories for heat exchanges.
Wow.
And I know how to do the study on it. I just didn't want to waste time. I want to help, but I didn't want to waste time if it's already been done, setting up thermocouples and Mitutoyo equipment.
Right.
Right.
So I'm happy to help. Didn't know if it would be beneficial to Martin's as a whole.
I don't know. Bill, you've been around a while. What would you say?
I mean, I got most of mine vented. It's a concern in the spring, early in the spring. Some of them I have caps on them, but it's getting out of hand as far as having 300 and some boards and houses across 12 states now. So, you know, I think more the rainstorms than the actual heat, you know, the venting. It seems like I'd rather have a hot, dry summer than a nice, comfortable summer with a lot of rain.
Yeah, I agree. Moisture is the problem.
Yeah.
Said no cattle farmer ever.
Well, and that could be me. I'm overthinking it. I mean, it is nature. We go through cycles, you know?
Right.
So
right.
If I can help, I'll help.
Okay.
I don't have the birds to put with it. It's the only thing.
Yet you don't. Yet. And, you know, you got to look at housing types too. I mean, you've got
exactly
thick high quality gourds.
Yep.
You don't have a house that has 6x6 compartments that's made of coroplast. Birds, the aluminum houses, I can't imagine what the radiant heat coming through the wall of those aluminum houses is in July.
Oh yeah.
Gourds are just my preferred. I mean, I don't know many people that would argue with that it's just better for the birds. They're larger. They're not okay. If you've got a 6x12 compartment in an aluminum house, as big as the nestlings get, they're going to be shoved up against the wall at some point. When you got that radiant heat coming right through there and going, right up against the birds, it's got to be harder for them. Of course, they are covered in the best insulation ever created. Feathers are pretty darn good at insulation, so they have some defense mechanisms too. So,
but Travis, back to your question: has the study ever been done? I thought I had seen something a long time ago, but I'll reach out to Louise and ask her if she knows for sure if there was ever a formal study done, and I'll send you some information on it.
As far as PMCA study is concerned, I don't know if they ever did one, but there's been a lot of landlords that have used min-max thermometers and stuff like that in gourds. And you're not going to change the ambient outside air temperature at the end of the day. Now, I do think that it could help with ventilation as far as if a breeze is blowing outside and you've got a vent on the gourd, it's got to have some airflow inside that gourd. And Greg said he had tested it and it did lower the humidity. So if it lowers the humidity, it's going to help keep the nest drier. So
I will completely agree with that. No matter what across the country, temperature saturation will occur, but airflow, to your point, humidity or not, that will help bring it closer to ambient.
Yes.
So I just didn't know about gourd type or anything else. So, okay. I'm just overreaching, but I'm thinking out there, man. I'm, just trying to help.
We gotta have thinkers. We gotta have thinkers.
I think
with
it's
all
great,
these fanatics.
Travis,
What'd you say,
great. I said, Travis, I think it's great. And I think if you want to do the testing and you can, please do it. Because I think the more data we have, the better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a good point, Courtney. You're right.
Now, let us get a little bigger. I realize there'd have to be a lot of static factors. I'd have to get different kind of boards, make just something forward thinking. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Courtney's a science nerd like I am. She likes data.
I love data.
I do too, but I prefer short clips of it, not long.
That short attention span is why.
I'll show you my nest check notebook then.
Or shiny buttons.
Oh.
Shiny buttons. Exactly. Oh, Lindsay, who's your buddy?
This is Zeke.
Oh,
that's her purple Martin. That's her purple Martin herding dog.
Yep.
Well,
all right, guys.
It's not the Subaru. Lindsay, has that thing survived any more sparrow shootings?
I really haven't tried again. I thought that would be a bad plan.
That's funny you remember that, Travis.
Yeah, it's not funny at all.
I can't say anything because I still have a broken tail light on my pickup. So
How's your crab pot doing?
The crab pot is right now out of commission. I'm using it as a feeding station, trying to keep hawks away.
Okay.
So I may not deploy the crab trap again. I'm working on that Abu Garcia tipping trap, and if I can get finished with my martin season and picking jumpers up out of the pasture and saving them from cattle, I'll get finished with it. So
I was serious about the 2-step with the cows with Brad.
She really was. I think it was Sunday afternoon. It may have been Saturday afternoon, but anyway, I walked to the back door. It had been rain. It just came a flood. I mean, torrential rain. And I walked to the back door. I think I was taking the dogs out. And I looked and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's 3 jumpers sitting in the pasture behind my house. So I got the dogs back in and I grabbed my Martin bucket, not to be confused with the feed bucket that the cows get fed with.
Yep.
Well, cows saw Brad walking towards the fence with the bucket. Well, here comes the cows. And by the time I got one of them stopped, I kid you not, her front hoof was that far from one of the jumpers. She almost stepped on it, and I would have been sick if that had happened. But I was actually out doing 2-step with the cows. So,
Literally. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining tonight. Let us know if you have questions. You guys know where to find us always.
Thanks for coming, guys. We've enjoyed it.
Good to see y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Good night.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.